Hey everyone. Tonight we don't march to brass bands or wave triumphant flags. Instead, we follow a man who once soared above the clouds with Britain's finest, only to crash into an addiction the empire refused to see. Victory parades cheered him on, but his veins whispered for Benzedrine. Ration cards, meant for families. He traded for pills, medals, pinned on his chest in daylight, ended up pawned in the shadows of Limehouse. You won't hear polished speeches or royal hymns here. You'll hear the hiss of a pill bottle, the strained laughter of drunk veterans in a smoke-choked pub, and the silence of a daughter too afraid to look her father in the eyes. This isn't about Churchill's victory. It's about the soldiers Britain left to rot in their own chemistry. If you want unflinching stories, history buried, then listen closely. Imagine yourself standing amidst the jubilant clamor of London in 1946. The air is thick with relief, a sweet, heady perfume of victory after years of grim endurance. Union Jacks, crisp and bright, flutter from every lamppost, a vibrant tapestry against the gray London sky. You can hear it, can't you? The grandee, booming cadence of brass bands, their music swelling and receding, a soundtrack to the triumph. The crowds surge, a sea of smiling faces, all eyes fixed on the parade, a glittering river of uniformed heroes marching past. And there, amongst them, you walk. You are Arthur, your RAF wings, gleaming like polished silver on your chest. Catch the afternoon sun, a symbol of courage, of battles fought high above the clouds, a testament to the nation's spirit. The cheers grow louder as your contingent approaches, a thunderous wave of adoration that washes over you, intended to uplift and honor. But beneath the surface, within the quiet sanctuary of your own being, you feel a distinct hollowness, an echoing void no amount of public adulation can fill. The smile you offer to the roaring throng feels stretched, a brittle mask barely concealing the tremor in your hands. A small, white pill rests secretively in your palm, a familiar comfort, a tiny promise. It's a Benzedrine tablet, a common companion throughout the long, sleepless nights of war. And now, a necessary prop for this very public display. With a swift, almost imperceptible movement, you bring it to your lips. You swallow, the dryness in your throat making the action difficult. A sudden, involuntary cough erupts, sharp and uncontrolled, catching in your chest. The pill, instead of sliding down, escapes, a tiny projectile. You watch it, almost in slow motion, as it arcs through the air, propelled by your sneeze, landing with an almost imperceptible tap on the exquisitely polished shoe of a passing minister. No one around you seems to notice. Not truly. The crowd, caught in the fervor of the moment, interprets your sudden choke, the unexpected tears that now prick at your eyes from the force of the cough, as an overwhelming surge of emotion, a profound patriotic pride. He's weeping for joy. You hear someone shout, their voice thick with admiration. The cheers, if possible, grow even louder, a deafening crescendo that vibrates through your very bones. You are a hero, lauded and celebrated, an embodiment of victory. But as you continue to march, the taste of ashes in your mouth, you know the truth. Britain sees a hero, brave and triumphant. You, Arthur, you just needed another pill. The applause, the flags, the shimmering medals, they are all external. The real battle, the one that whispers in your veins, continues, unseen, unheard, a silent, desperate plea for just one more tiny, white tablet. This parade, for you, is simply another mission that requires a chemical boost to endure, to keep the fragile facade from crumbling. You walk on, your heart a drum against your ribs. The memory of that pill a phantom weight in your empty hand, longing for the next one, the next moment of fragile, chemical peace. You are there, transported back to the chilling dawn of 1940 to the stark, functional landscape of RAF Northolt. The air bites with a crisp, metallic tang, a blend of cold morning dew and the faint, ever-present scent of aviation fuel. Inside the briefing room, the atmosphere crackles with a taut, almost unbearable tension. Huge, detailed chalk maps cover every available surface. Their intricate lines and symbols a visual blueprint of the terrifying journey ahead. You can hear the clipped accents of the senior officers, their voices sharp and precise, dissecting strategies, outlining enemy movements, each word carving itself into the cold air. The hushed murmurs of your comrades, the rustle of their uniforms, the quiet clearing of throats, all contribute to the sense of impending dread that hangs heavy, like the thick fog that sometimes blankets the airfield. You are Arthur, seated amongst them, your heart a frantic drumbeat against your ribs, your hands, despite their experience, betray a slight tremor. This isn't fear of the enemy. Not entirely. It's the raw, frayed edges of exhaustion. The profound weariness that has settled deep into your bones after countless sleepless nights, chasing shadows in the sky, returning only to be sent up again. You reach into your pocket, your fingers finding the familiar, smooth surface of the small, white pills. 2 of them tonight, a double dose. A desperate measure for a desperate situation. You swallow them dry, the bitterness coating your tongue. A sharp contrast to the sweet relief you know is coming. Almost immediately. You feel it a jolt, a surge of false energy. Your pupils dilate, widening until the world around you seems to sharpen, to gain an almost hyper-real clarity. Your heartbeat, already erratic, begins to hammer a frantic rhythm, a powerful, insistent thudding in your ears. And then, you are in the air, a tiny metal bird soaring against the vast, indifferent canvas of the sky. The roar of the engine is a constant, deafening companion, a mechanical beast propelling you forward. Below, the landscape is a patchwork quilt of darkness, punctuated by the angry red glow of tracer fire erupting from the ground, reaching, grasping, trying to pull you down. Sweat, cold and stinging, drips from your brow, blurring your vision as it mixes with the oil and grime on your face. You weave and bank, your senses heightened, every muscle taut, every nerve screaming with the artificial energy coursing through you. The Benzedrine has sharpened your reflexes. Yes, but it has also frayed the edges of your humanity, pushing you beyond normal limits, turning you into a precision flying machine. Then, a sudden, horrifying crackle shatters the relative silence in your headset. A voice, familiar and young, screams, then abruptly cuts out. You know what it means. You don't need to see it to know. One of your comrades, a friend from the mess hall, from shared laughs and whispered fears, has burst into flames. The image, stark and brutal, paints itself behind your eyes, an inferno against the endless dark. A wave of ice-cold terror, raw and primal, grips you. You feel your own breath hitch, your chest tighten. The adrenaline, the chemical fury, clashes with the profound grief and fear. Another scream, this time your own. Tears from your throat, ragged and desperate. Another pill, or I'm next. You need it, you crave it. Not just for the wakefulness, not just for the sharpened focus, but to numb the searing pain of witnessing such horror. To keep flying, to keep fighting, to keep yourself from spiraling into the abyss of panic and despair that threatens to engulf you. This wasn't just about courage. It was about chemical survival. You realize, with a chilling clarity, a truth that no one would ever speak aloud in the hallowed halls of power victory. The very survival of the nation soared on tiny white tablets. The heroes in the cockpits weren't just powered by patriotism. They were fueled by the cold, manufactured fire of amphetamines, pushing their bodies and minds beyond what nature intended, sacrificing their future selves for the immediate, urgent demands of war. You step out of the biting wind and into the long, winding queue. This isn't the clean, orderly line of soldiers marching in formation. This is the Bethnal Green ration line, a stark reminder of the nation's sacrifices on the home front. The air here hangs heavy with a different kind of tension, a quiet, pervasive hum of exhaustion and hunger. It's a bitter cold morning, and the chill seems to seep into your very bones, despite the layers of your threadbare coat. You can hear the distant murmur of voices, hushed and weary, the occasional cough, the shuffle of tired feet on the damp pavement. Small children, their faces pale and pinched with cold, clutch their precious bread cards, their tiny fingers white-knuckled around the flimsy paper. Their eyes, wide and innocent, dart around, hoping for a glimpse of the coveted loaves that promise temporary relief. You are Arthur, and you stand among them, a ghost in a uniform that still carries the faint scent of stale cigarette smoke and something indefinable, something chemical. Your own ration coupon, intended for the sustenance of a family, feels alien in your hand. But your hunger isn't for bread, not in the way these mothers and children hunger. Your hunger is a gnawing void that bread cannot fill, a cavern in your soul that only a specific kind of white tablet can quiet. You observe the stoic faces, the quiet dignity of those waiting for their essential provisions, and a flicker of shame, fleeting and almost imperceptible, crosses your own face. As the line inches forward, you subtly slip away from the main queue, your movements practiced, almost furtive. You move towards the grimy entrance of an alleyway, a place where whispers are traded and illicit deals are struck. In the shadows, a figure waits, a silhouette against the dim light, and without a word, the exchange is made. Your ration coupon, a symbol of your right to sustenance, is traded for a small, crumpled packet. Inside, you know, are the black market pills, the manufactured calm, the fleeting escape you crave. The transaction is quick, devoid of emotion, a desperate agreement born of desperation. As you turn to leave the alley, a woman from the breadline catches your eye, her face, etched with the weariness of wartime, twists into a look of profound disgust, a silent accusation that pierces through your chemically induced haze. Her lips form words, though no sound reaches you, only the bitter taste of their meaning, some hero. The unspoken judgment hangs in the cold air between you, heavy and undeniable. You avert your gaze, your shoulders slumping almost imperceptibly. You can feel the weight of her stare, the silent condemnation of a nation that expects sacrifice. But not this kind. You walk away, the pills a phantom weight in your pocket, a burning anticipation in your gut. Your own voice, a low, guttural mutter, escapes your lips. A justification whispered only to yourself, to the ever-present ghosts that haunt your waking hours. Calories don't stop nightmares, pills do. The truth of it, for you, is absolute. The bread is for survival, for the physical body. But the pills are for the mind, for the relentless echoes of war that refuse to fade. The stark contrast is an unbearable burden, bread for Britain, for its weary, resilient people, striving to rebuild, to nourish their bodies and their children. But for you, Arthur, it is speed, the manufactured frenzy of amphetamines, feeding the restless, tormented ghosts that clamor inside your skull. The nation starved, making immense sacrifices for the war effort, for a future of peace, and you, a supposed hero, fed your ghosts, sacrificing your present, your health, your very soul, to the insatiable demands of a chemical craving. The hunger for bread was a physical ache, a communal struggle. Your hunger for the pills was a solitary, agonizing battle against the demons of the past, waged in the quiet, desperate corners of your own mind. You find yourself on the bustling, unpredictable streets of Soho, a stark contrast to the quiet desperation of Bethnal Green. Here, life pulses with a different energy, a slightly more bohemian, even illicit, rhythm. But even in this vibrant district, the shadows of war and its aftermath linger. You push open the heavy wooden door of a small chemist, the familiar chime above announcing your presence, and step into an air that smells faintly of antiseptic and something vaguely medicinal, a clean scent that feels ironic given your purpose. Your eyes immediately fall upon a brightly colored poster, a relic from the war years, still proudly displayed on the wall: Benzedrine, stay awake, slim down. The words, once a rallying cry for productivity and a fashionable diet aid, now feel like a cruel joke, a public endorsement of the very substance that has become your quiet tormentor. You approach the counter, your movements measured, your face carefully composed into a mask of weary normalcy. The pharmacist, a man with kind eyes but a practiced, detached air, looks up from his ledger. His gaze is professional, unblinking. You meet it with a forced sincerity, the practiced lie already forming on your tongue. Just fatigue, you say, your voice modulated to sound tired, not desperate. The war, you know, can't seem to get a wink of sleep. You offer a small, apologetic shrug, hinting at the invisible burdens of a veteran. The pharmacist nods, his expression sympathetic but not surprised. He's heard it countless times before. The weary laments of soldiers returning home, their sleep patterns irrevocably broken, their minds unable to quiet the echoes of battle. There are no probing questions, no suspicious glances, no uncomfortable inquiries into the true nature of your fatigue. The war has normalized so much, including the widespread use of these wakey-wakey pills, as they were affectionately, yet dangerously called. To question a veteran's need for them would be unpatriotic, almost callous. With a smooth, practiced motion, the pharmacist reaches beneath the counter, pulling out a small, familiar box. He slides it across the polished wood towards you, the movement almost perfunctory. It's a box of amphetamines, neatly packaged, officially sanctioned. You take it, your fingers closing around it with an almost reverent grip. It feels weighty, like contraband gold, even though it's been purchased in a legitimate establishment. The transaction is complete, seamless, and chillingly easy. You pocket the box, the crisp edges of the cardboard a familiar reassurance against your skin. As you turn to leave, the chime above the door announcing your departure. A profound realization settles over you, cold and clear. During the war, these pills were distributed by the military, a vital part of the supply line, ensuring pilots could fly through the night. Soldiers could stay alert on patrol. Workers could maintain relentless productivity. Now, the battlefields have shifted from foreign lands to the troubled landscapes of individual minds. And the source of your chemical sustenance has merely changed hands. The war's supply line, you observe with a bitter twist of irony, had only changed address. It was no longer coming from a quartermaster. It was coming from a chemist, equally accessible, equally unquestioned, still feeding a nation's hidden wounds, still perpetuating the very addiction that was slowly, silently, devouring its heroes from within. You walk out into the Soho bustle, the sense of unreality pressing down, carrying your new supply, armed once again, but with a weapon that was slowly, inexorably, turning against you. You step across the threshold into your East End flat, and the warmth, though meager, is a stark contrast to the chill of the Soho streets. But it's not a welcoming warmth. The faint hiss of the gas stove, a constant, almost conspiratorial whisper from the kitchen, fills the air, mingling with the subtle, lingering scent of stale cooking, and something metallic, something like fear. Your eyes scan the familiar, yet subtly altered, landscape of your home. The walls, once pristine, now bear the indelible scars of the Blitz, faint cracks that spiderweb across the plaster, patches of mismatched paint where shrapnel damage was clumsily repaired. Each imperfection is a silent testament to the terrifying nights spent huddled in shelters, listening to the guttural roar of enemy planes overhead. Your wife, Evelyn, is there, her back to you, her shoulders hunched slightly as she busies herself with some task. Her movements are quiet, deliberate, weighted with a weariness that mirrors your own, yet is different. She turns, and her gaze, usually soft and understanding, sharpens as it meets yours. Her eyes, observant and knowing, trace the tired lines on your face, the tremor in your hands, the unnatural alertness that often grips you. Why are your eyes so red? Arthur, she asks, her voice barely above a whisper, laced with a familiar concern that grates on your frayed nerves. It's not a question. Not really. It's an observation, a gentle accusation, a plea for truth that you cannot or will not provide. The question hangs in the air, heavy and unspoken, touching upon the secret you guard so fiercely, the one that whispers in your veins. Your carefully constructed composure snaps. The fatigue, the stress, the constant vigilance against the creeping edge of withdrawal, it all erupts in a sudden, violent surge of frustration. Your fist slams down onto the small, chipped kitchen table. The sudden, jarring noise echoing loudly in the quiet flat. The meager cutlery rattles, a fragile protest. War nerves, you snap. the words barking out, sharp and raw, a flimsy shield against her knowing gaze. You swallow another pill, quickly, almost without thinking. The bitter taste of familiar comfort, a quick reassertion of control. The act is defiant, a desperate declaration that you are in charge, that this is what you need. From the doorway, a small, fragile voice cuts through the charged silence. Your daughter, her eyes wide and innocent, stares at you, a tremor of fear in her voice. "Daddy looks scary," she whispers, her words a direct hit to the core of your fragile defenses. Her simple, unfiltered truth is more potent than any accusation Evelyn could level. The child sees what your wife sees, what you desperately try to hide the hollowed eyes. The unnatural energy, the unpredictable flashes of anger. It is a reflection of the profound damage war has inflicted, not on the buildings outside, but on the man within. On a rusted nail, crookedly hammered into the wall. Your RAF wings hang, tarnished and out of place. They are a relic of a glorious past, a symbol of the hero you once were, or were perceived to be. Now, they seem to mock you, a reminder of a life that once soared, now grounded, trapped within the confines of these four walls, battling a different kind of enemy. The Luftwaffe was gone, the aerial threat vanquished, the physical war over. But you realize, with a chilling clarity, that the war, your personal war, had simply moved. It lived now, not in the skies above London, but in the tense silences of your home, in Evelyn's worried glances, in your daughter's frightened whispers, and most profoundly, in the chemical battle raging within your own mind. Your East End flat, once a sanctuary, had become your new front line, and the enemy was insidious, invisible, and deeply entrenched within yourself. You push open the heavy door of the Whitechapel pub, and the world inside assaults your senses with a familiar, comforting chaos. The air is a thick, yellowed haze, heavy with the pungent, acrid scent of stale cigarette smoke, clinging to every surface, stinging your eyes. The low, guttural murmur of conversations, punctuated by raucous laughter and the clinking of glasses, forms a constant, swirling soundtrack. Your feet stick slightly to the beer-soaked floor as you navigate your way towards a corner table, a well-worn patch of wood beneath a flickering, yellowed lamp. The tables themselves are sticky, scarred with the rings of countless spilled pints, each mark a testament to evenings lost and memories made, or perhaps forgotten. You are Arthur, and here, amidst the friendly faces of your old squadron, you feel a fleeting sense of belonging, a temporary reprieve from the solitary battle within. These men, like you, have stared death in the face, have known the cold terror of the skies. They understand, or so you tell yourself, the desperate need for something to quiet the incessant hum of trauma. "To victory," someone shouts, raising a frothy pint, the cheer echoing across the smoky room. Pints are clinked, voices grow louder, and for a moment, the world outside, with its rationing and its unspoken judgments, fades away. Then, with a casualness that is both alarming and tragically ordinary, the ritual begins. A small, crumpled packet emerges from a pocket. A hand reaches across the table, offering a few tiny, white pills, passed around like after-dinner mints. "Wakey, wakey, lads," Someone slurs with a wink and a grin, the words carrying a dark, knowing humor. You take your share, the bitter taste of familiar sensation on your tongue, chasing it down with a gulp of lukewarm ale. It's a shared secret, a communal addiction, binding these broken men together in a silent, desperate pact. The amphetamines, once a tool for wartime survival, have become the currency of their peacetime despair. The night wears on, a blur of smoke and drink and chemically induced euphoria. The laughter grows louder, more forced, the conversations more fragmented. Then, it happens. A sudden, chilling interruption to the camaraderie. One of the veterans, a wiry gunner known for his steady hand and grim humor, suddenly stiffens. His eyes roll back. His body begins to convulse violently, a horrifying seizure that throws him from his chair onto the grimy floor. A thin stream of foam, sickeningly white, bubbles from his lips. The sudden sauce, raw reality of their situation shatters the manufactured gaiety. If only for a moment. A hush falls over the table. Then a swift, practiced reaction. There is no panic, no frantic calls for help, only a quiet, grim understanding. Without a word, someone retrieves an old RAF coat, its dark blue wool still bearing the faint imprint of a pilot's badge. Gently, almost tenderly, they drape it over the twitching body, a solemn shroud. The conversation, after a brief, uneasy pause, slowly resumes, albeit in hushed tones. Pints are raised again, almost as if to wash away the horrifying image. The unspoken message is clear: acknowledge it, cover it, then continue. This is simply the cost of doing business, the price of their chosen escape. The squadron, once a symbol of aerial prowess and national pride, still flew. Yes, but you realize, with a chilling certainty, that it flew now not through the clouds towards victory, but straight into the ground. One chemical-fueled crash after another, a silent, unseen slaughter in the smoky confines of a Whitechapel pub. And you, Arthur, were one of them, a co-pilot on this slow, inexorable descent. You jolt awake, your heart hammering a frantic rhythm against your ribs, a visceral response to the phantom noise that still echoes in your ears. It's the familiar, guttural roar of engines, distant yet terrifyingly real, screaming overhead. You lie there, tense and rigid, your senses on high alert, scanning the darkness of the room for the telltale flicker of searchlights, the distant thud of bombs. But there is nothing, only the oppressive silence of a peaceful, post-war night. A silence that feels profoundly unnatural, a void where the familiar symphony of destruction used to be. The absence is almost as terrifying as the presence. The bed beneath you feels damp, clinging unpleasantly to your skin. A faint, acrid smell permeates the sheets. A combination of your own sweat, the residue of countless nights spent in chemically induced wakefulness, and something else, something rubbery and vaguely metallic, like the interior of an old bomber cockpit. Your body aches, a deep, pervasive weariness that no amount of sleep, real or chemically manufactured, seems to alleviate. The dreams, when they come, are not restful. They are fragmented, violent mosaics of tracer fire and screaming engines, of burning planes falling from the sky like shattered stars. The urgency to quell the internal clamor is immediate, overwhelming. Your hand, trembling slightly, reaches for the familiar small bottle on the bedside table. You tip it, pouring a few dry pills into your palm, their chalky surfaces stark white against your skin in the dim light. You swallow them, one after another, the taste bitter and dusty, catching in your parched throat. There is no water, no gentle easing, just the stark, desperate act of ingestion. Almost instantly, you feel your pulse quicken, snapping like a taut wire within your veins, a rapid, insistent throb that vibrates through your entire body. It's the jolt, the manufactured energy, pushing back against the encroaching fatigue and the terrifying echoes of the past. Slowly, imperceptibly, the phantom engines begin to recede. The whispers of the dead, the screams of comrades, the roar of the Messerschmitts, they all begin to fade, dissolving into a quiet hum in the background of your mind. The silence returns, deep and profound. But it is not a comforting silence. It is an unnatural, chemical quiet, a void engineered by the pills, a fragile dam holding back the torrent of your memories. You lie there, eyes wide open, staring into the impenetrable darkness, acutely aware of the artificial peace that has been imposed upon your tormented mind. The Messerschmitts, the dreaded enemy planes, were long gone, vanquished from the skies. But the battle, you realize with a chilling clarity, was far from over. No German bombers remained. No physical threats to your life from above. Only the machines inside your skull, the relentless internal engines of trauma and addiction, continued their destructive flight, fueled by the very substances meant to keep you alive. And you, Arthur, were merely a passenger, held captive by their relentless chemical rhythm. You stand once more in a queue, but this isn't the orderly procession of the parade, nor the clandestine alley of illicit transactions. This is the milk line, a commonplace scene of post-war British life, echoing with the quiet resilience and collective sacrifices of a nation still rebuilding. The morning air, crisp and damp, carries the faint scent of coal smoke and damp earth. You observe the women around you, their faces etched with the quiet dignity of endless worry, their ration books clutched tightly in their hands like sacred texts. Mothers soothe crying babies, their voices soft and weary, while older children, bundled in worn coats, eye the milk crates with an almost desperate hope. Each person here is a thread in the vast tapestry of the empire, collectively enduring the hardships of scarcity, waiting patiently for their small, vital share. You are Arthur, and your presence here feels like a grotesque parody of duty. Your uniform, though laundered, still carries the faint, lingering scent of desperation, a scent only you can perceive. The milk, a symbol of childhood nourishment and simple sustenance, holds no appeal for you. Your body craves something else, something that quietens the frantic clamor within, something that silences the relentless replays of aerial dogfights and the screams of falling planes. With a practiced subtlety, you slip from the main queue, moving like a shadow behind the patient line of people. Your eyes dart, seeking out the familiar signal, the discreet nod from the person you know will be waiting. Another quick, furtive exchange. Barely a ripple in the calm surface of the morning. Your milk coupon, a precious entitlement, is surrendered without a moment's hesitation. In return, your fingers close around the familiar, small packet. Its contents a promise of fleeting peace. It's an act of deep, quiet betrayal, not just of yourself, but of the collective sacrifice embodied by these weary faces around you. As you step away, the queue continues to shuffle forward, oblivious to the small, dark transaction that just occurred. Children, their faces bright with anticipation, receive their bottles, licking the last vestiges of cream from the glass with innocent delight. Their joy, so pure and unburdened, is a stark contrast to your own internal landscape. You, Arthur, swallow the chalky tablets, their bitterness a familiar companion on your tongue, their effects already beginning to hum through your veins. The warmth of the milk, the simple comfort it represents, is an alien concept to your chemically altered system. A chilling thought settles in your mind, cold and clear as the morning air the empire starved. Its people enduring the privations of rationing, making immense sacrifices to rebuild, to heal, to simply survive. And you, a soldier who fought for that very empire, were not just surviving, but overdosing, slowly poisoning yourself with the very substances meant to keep you alert, to keep you fighting. Your personal war, fueled by addiction, continued to rage, unnoticed by the broader world. The milk, meant to nourish the nation's future, was traded for the pills that devoured yours. It was a silent, personal famine, a profound hunger for escape, an emptiness that no amount of national triumph or collective resilience could ever truly fill. You walk away, the pills a phantom weight in your gut, leaving the innocent joy of the children and the stoic endurance of the mothers behind, retreating into the solitary, chemical fog of your own making. You are enveloped by the relentless, deafening roar of the Dagenham plant, a cacophony of industry that vibrates through your very bones. The air is thick with the metallic scent of steel, the acrid tang of oil, and the ever-present hum of powerful machinery. Giant stamping presses, colossal jaws of steel, rise and fall with a rhythmic, thunderous crash, each descent a violent assertion of industrial might. Sparks fly, metal shrieks, and the sheer force of the place seems to demand a relentless, unwavering focus. This is a new battleground, far removed from the skies of Europe, but equally unforgiving. You are Arthur, a cog in this vast, mechanical beast, your hands now tasked with the repetitive, dangerous dance of feeding metal into the maw of the press. But without the familiar chemical edge, your body feels alien, unresponsive. The insidious grip of withdrawal begins to assert itself, a creeping tremor that starts in your fingertips and spreads through your entire arm. Your hand, meant to be steady and precise, shakes uncontrollably, a betraying palsy that threatens to expose your secret, to put your life in jeopardy. You watch, almost in slow motion, as the massive steel jaws of the stamping press descend towards the piece of metal you are meant to guide. Your hand, caught in the tremor, is still dangerously close. A cold spike of adrenaline, raw and unadulterated by pills, pierces through you. The realization of the danger, sudden and stark, is horrifying. You yank your hand back just in time, a fraction of an inch, a split second that separates life from a mangled limb. The massive steel plates crash together with a deafening crunch, narrowly missing your flesh, the wind of its descent rustling the hair on your arm. The near-crushing sensation is palpable, a cold dread that claws at your throat. The incident serves as a brutal reminder, a terrifying reaffirmation of your dependency. Your heart hammers, not just from fear, but from the desperate, urgent need that now consumes you. You cannot function, cannot survive in this metal-eating monster of a factory without the aid of your chemical crutch. With a furtive, desperate movement, your hand plunges into your pocket, retrieving the familiar small packet. In the midst of the roaring machinery, unnoticed by the other workers in their own focused, weary rhythms, you gulp down a pill. The taste is bitter, dry, but the promise it holds is immediate. Sweat, cold and greasy, drips from your chin, mixing with the grime of the factory floor. It's not just the heat of the industrial ovens, but the physical exertion, the mental strain, and the body's frantic protest against both its labor and its craving. You lean against a grimy pillar for a moment, waiting for the familiar jolt, the clarity, the steadying hand to return. The steel of the press, immense and unyielding, bent under pressure, shaping and transforming the raw metal. And you, Arthur, you realize with a profound, unsettling clarity, bent under pressure too. The relentless demands of war, the insatiable pull of addiction, the crushing weight of peacetime struggle, all had shaped and warped you, just as surely as the press shaped steel. You were, in essence, a malleable material, constantly being reformed, constantly under strain, constantly on the verge of breaking. The Dagenham plant, with its roaring engines and crushing steel, was just another battlefield, and you were fighting for your very existence. One pill, one shift, one near miss at a time. You step into the hushed, antiseptic air of the Stepney Clinic, a place meant for healing, yet it feels to you more like an armory. The walls, painted a sterile cream, seem to absorb all sound, creating an almost eerie quietness compared to the roaring factory floor or the boisterous pub. Your eyes drift to a familiar poster adorning the wall, a relic of wartime propaganda that now feels bitterly ironic. Keep calm and carry on. The words, once a national mantra for stoicism, now mock the internal tempest that rages within you, a storm of sleeplessness, anxiety, and an unshakable chemical hunger. You wait your turn, observing the other patients, the coughing elderly, the anxious mothers with fretful children, the tired laborers. Each carries their own burden, their own quiet suffering. When your name is called, you enter a small, sparsely furnished consultation room. The doctor, a harried man with weary eyes, offers a brief, almost mechanical smile. He glances at your file, then at your face, taking in the tired lines, the unnatural glint in your eyes. What seems to be the trouble? Arthur, he asks, his voice kind but rushed, already moving on to the next patient in his mind. You offer your practiced, well-rehearsed lie, the one that always elicits the desired response. I can't sleep, doctor, you say, your voice carefully modulated to convey exhaustion, a plea for legitimate relief rather than a desperate craving. Since the war, you know, my mind just won't switch off, always racing. You describe the symptoms with a convincing touch of weariness, a tale of fractured nights and restless days, a story that resonates with the doctor's own experiences of treating countless veterans. The doctor nods, his pen already poised over a prescription pad. There's no hesitation, No probing questions about the specifics of your nightmares. No suggestion of other, more holistic approaches. The war has left a generation of men and women unable to rest, their nervous systems irrevocably altered. And for many in the medical establishment, the quick chemical fix has become the standard solution. With a swift, almost imperceptible scratch, his pen glides across the paper. The prescription is written. The pathway to your next supply of chemical peace laid out with official sanction. Moments later, you emerge from the clinic, a small, tidy bottle clutched in your hand. Inside, are the amphetamines, the white tablets that promise temporary respite, manufactured wakefulness, and a fleeting sense of control. A triumphant, almost manic grin spreads across your face, a stark contrast to the weary facade you presented just moments ago. You feel a surge of exhilaration, a dark, perverse joy. You are armed again, not with the rifle or the wings of a Spitfire, but with the very poison that has slowly, inexorably, begun to consume you. As you walk out into the bustling street, a cold, clear thought asserts itself. Chilling in its implications, Britain, the nation you fought for, the very system designed to protect and heal its heroes, had just rearmed you. But not with strength, not with genuine recovery, not with a path to peace. It had rearmed you with the same poison, the very same chemical that had pushed you through the impossible horrors of war, and was now in peacetime, slowly pushing you towards a different kind of destruction. The doctor's blessing was, in fact, a curse, a societal endorsement of your deepening addiction, a silent continuation of the chemical warfare that had started in the skies and was now playing out in the quiet, desperate corners of your life. And you, Arthur, felt a chilling relief, an unsettling gratitude for this unwitting complicity. You stand in your small East End flat, the air heavy and thick, not with smoke, but with unspoken words, with the crushing weight of shattered trust. Evelyn, your wife, her face pale and drawn, her eyes red-rimmed but resolute, stands before you, a battered suitcase, its latches grim and metallic, lies open on the worn floor beside her, half-packed. The silence in the room is deafening, punctuated only by the distant sounds of city life, muted and far away. Her voice, when it comes, is soft, almost breaking, but infused with an unshakable conviction. "It's me and her. Arthur," she whispers, her gaze unwavering. "Or the pills." It is an ultimatum, stark and brutal, a choice she never imagined she would have to make, a choice that cleaves your already fractured world in two. You look at her, truly look at her, and see the years of worry, the nights spent alone, the brave face she has tried to maintain for your daughter. Her words echo in the small room, a desperate plea, a final boundary. You nod, slowly, your head heavy, a hollow, empty gesture that feels entirely devoid of meaning. You comprehend her words. You understand the gravity of her choice. Yet the decision feels distant, abstract, as though happening to someone else. The grip of the pills, the insidious craving that whispers in your veins, is far more immediate, far more powerful than any plea, any threat, any love. The addiction has become an entity, a demanding, jealous mistress that brooks no rivals, tolerates no compromise. That night, as the flat falls silent, the empty space beside you in the bed a stark testament to Evelyn's departure, you find yourself alone once more. The silence is not peaceful. It is a vast, echoing void, filled with the ghosts of unspoken arguments and shattered dreams. In response, with a defiant, almost desperate urgency, you double your dose, the pills, usually a measure of escape, now feel like a declaration of war, a desperate reaffirmation of your allegiance to the chemical over the human. You swallow them, one after another. The bitterness a comfort, the surge of artificial energy a shield against the creeping loneliness and the crushing weight of your loss. In the morning, a poignant reminder of what you have sacrificed lies forgotten on the kitchen table. Your daughter's drawing, a small, innocent creation in crayon, depicts a stick figure of a man, clearly Daddy, but he is not on the ground. He is lost amidst dark, swirling clouds, his small, smiling face obscured by the tumultuous gray. The clouds are not the fluffy, benevolent kind. They are angry, oppressive, a child's intuitive rendering of your inner turmoil, your chemical fog. The drawing, a silent, eloquent testament to her fear and her love, pierces through your chemically induced detachment, if only for a moment. The dinner table, once a gathering place, now stands desolate. A single empty chair, a stark monument to your profound loss. The absence of Evelyn and your daughter creates a gaping void in the heart of your home. A silence that screams louder than any argument. You have pushed them away, sacrificed them on the altar of your addiction. The battles you fought in the skies, the medals you earned, the enemies you vanquished, all of it now pales in comparison to the war you have just lost. The most devastating of all. You lost the war at home. Arthur, a quiet, insidious defeat that leaves behind a trail of broken promises and empty spaces. A profound emptiness that even the pills cannot entirely fill. And the weight of that loss, though muted by chemistry, settles deep within your soul, a chilling premonition of the solitude that now awaits you. You are plunged back into the familiar, chaotic embrace of the pub. But tonight, the usual cacophony of cheerful drunkenness has curdled into something uglier, more volatile. The air crackles with aggression, thick with the scent of spilled beer, stale sweat, and the coppery tang of nascent violence. Suddenly, a chair flies through the air, propelled by an unseen hand, crashing against a wall with a splintering thud. Glass shatters, its crystalline shards scattering across the sticky floor, reflecting the dim, flickering pub lights in a distorted mosaic. Voices rise in angry shouts, fists connect with sickening wet thuds, and the whole room erupts into a swirling vortex of drunken fury. You are Arthur, caught in the eye of this storm, propelled by the same chemical-fueled anger and despair that grips so many of your comrades. The pills, which once brought focus, now amplify every irritation, every slight, every lingering resentment from the war years that boils beneath the surface. You throw a punch, miss, stumble, and find yourself wrestling with an indistinguishable blur of arms and legs. A primal scream tearing from your throat, lost in the general din. It's a desperate release, a manifestation of the rage and frustration that has festered within you, unaddressed, untamed. Suddenly, a heavy hand clamps down on your shoulder. The rough fabric of a police uniform is a sudden, unwelcome reality. All right, mate. That's enough. a gruff voice commands, cutting through the haze. You resist, flailing, but the grip is unyielding. Two burly officers, their faces stern and unyielding, haul you away from the fray, your feet dragging on the broken glass, your protests incoherent and slurred. They frog march you out of the pub, the sounds of the brawl gradually fading behind you, replaced by the cool, unforgiving night air. "Wings clipped, mate," one of them says with a sneer, a cruel jab that refers not just to your physical restraint, but to the ignominious fall from grace. The irony is lost on them, but it bites deep into your own consciousness. The next morning, the stark, brutal reality of your public humiliation stares back at you from the pages of the tabloid. The cheap newsprint, smelling faintly of ink and scandal, screams a headline that sears your eyes: RAF hero in drunken brawl. Beneath it, a grainy, unflattering mugshot captures your face, contorted and bleary-eyed, a far cry from the proud, dashing pilot whose image once graced recruiting posters. The contrast is jarring, a cruel testament to your descent. You stare at the image, a strange, defiant smirk tugging at the corner of your lips. "Handsome devil," you mutter to yourself, the words laced with a bitter self-mockery. It's a defense mechanism, a cynical attempt to shrug off the shame, to pretend it doesn't sting, doesn't twist something deep inside you. But it does. The public, who once cheered your aerial victories, now sees only a broken, brawling drunk, another casualty of peace. The narrative has shifted, irrevocably. From the wings of glory, soaring high above the clouds, a national hero embodying courage and sacrifice, you have fallen, landing with a crushing thud in the ignominious realm of mugshots of shame. The public perception, once so carefully constructed, has been irrevocably shattered, leaving behind only the grim, undeniable proof of your spiraling decline. And as you trace the lines of your own humiliated face in the paper, a cold dread settles in the fall. It seems is far from over. You find yourself in a place of profound retreat, a dingy, rented room that seems to exist outside the bounds of time and polite society. The air, thick and stale, hangs heavy with the cloying scent of cheap tobacco and something else. Something vaguely medicinal, an almost chemical sweetness. A single, bare bulb suspended from the ceiling casts a weak, yellowed glow, revealing the peeling wallpaper, the stained carpet, the general air of neglect and forgotten hopes. The wind, it seems, can find its way through any crack or crevice in this building, moaning softly outside, a mournful, constant companion. Here, in this sanctuary of shared despair, you are not alone. 4 other veterans, their faces etched with the same telltale lines of exhaustion and chemical dependence, are gathered. They are your new squadron, a ghost squadron. Pilots grounded, navigators lost, gunners without a target. There are no uniforms here, no gleaming medals, only the weary uniforms of civilian life, threadbare and stained. A bottle of cheap spirits sits on the rickety table, alongside a scattering of small, crumpled packets. "To the next sortie," one of them slurs, raising a glass, his voice thick with a mixture of irony and genuine despair. The toast is a bitter parody of wartime camaraderie, a desperate attempt to imbue their current state with some semblance of purpose, some echo of past glory. You observe them, your fellow passengers on this slow, inexorable flight into oblivion. Their hands, once steady on the controls of mighty aircraft, now tremble as they shuffle Benzedrine packs like playing cards. A ritualistic distribution of their shared poison. The flick of the tabs, the rustle of the paper. It's a sound as familiar and comforting to them now as the roar of an engine once was. They gulp the pills down, washing them away with the harsh sting of cheap whiskey, seeking that fleeting moment of artificial clarity, that temporary escape from the relentless demands of their unquiet minds. The room grows still, save for the labored breathing and the occasional slurred remark. No one can stand straight, their bodies swaying, their balance compromised by the cocktail of alcohol and amphetamines. They slump in their chairs, a tableau of broken men, their eyes wide and glassy, fixed on nothing in particular, yet seeing everything, the ghosts of their past, the specter of their future, the RAF, the Royal Air Force, once the epitome of skill, courage, and discipline, never officially disbanded its heroes. But in this dingy room, amidst these chemically fueled specters, you realize a more profound and tragic truth it had dissolved. It hadn't ceased to exist in a formal capacity, but its very essence, its spirit, had seeped away, bled out into the bodies and minds of these men, transformed, irrevocably, into a ghost squadron of addicts. This wasn't an official decommissioning. It was a silent, insidious unraveling. Each pill consumed, each moment of chemically induced forgetfulness, was another thread pulled from the fabric of their former selves, another step closer to a shared, anonymous demise. You are one of them, Arthur, a part of this tragic dissolution, watching with a detached, clinical eye as the once proud defenders of the nation slowly, quietly, but utterly, evaporated into the fog of their own making. The next sortie would not be into the enemy skies, but deeper into the labyrinthine shadows of their collective addiction, a flight from which there would be no triumphant return. You walk the grimy, cobbled streets of Limehouse, a district where shadows cling to every corner and the promise of a quick exchange often outweighs sentiment. The air here carries the faint, mingled scents of the river, of stale fish, and of desperate hope. Your steps lead you to a small, unassuming storefront, its window displaying a sad assortment of forgotten treasures, a tarnished pocket watch, a broken violin, a single, mismatched cufflink. Above the door, a faded sign proclaims, "Pawn Shop." The letters chipped and weary. You push open the heavy, creaking door and step into a confined space illuminated by a single, flickering bulb suspended from the ceiling. Its meager light casts long, distorted shadows, making the room feel transient, a place where dreams go to die, or at least to be put on hold indefinitely. The shopkeeper, a man with a tired face and eyes that have seen too much, looks up from behind his counter. He doesn't offer a greeting, merely a silent, knowing nod, a recognition of the desperate ritual that is about to unfold. You are Arthur, and your heart, usually numbed by chemicals, feels a sharp, almost unbearable pang. From inside your coat, with hands that tremble despite your best efforts, you produce the objects that represent your past, your glory, your very identity. First, your RAF wings, once so proudly pinned to your chest, now feel heavy, almost accusatory in their silence. Then, the medals, the Distinguished Flying Cross, The campaign stars, their ribbons faded, their metallic sheen dulled by time and neglect. They clatter softly as you lay them down on the worn wooden counter. A small, yet profound, sacrifice. The shopkeeper picks them up, turning them over in his calloused fingers, his expression unreadable. He doesn't examine them for authenticity. He merely assesses their weight, their potential for a quick resale. A sigh escapes his lips, long and weary, a sound that speaks volumes. "Another hero," he mutters, his voice devoid of judgment, simply stating a grim, undeniable fact. He has seen it countless times before the brave young men, once celebrated, now reduced to pawning the very symbols of their courage for a fleeting taste of oblivion. He names a price, a pittance, but you don't haggle, you don't argue. The money, a few crumpled bills, is pressed into your hand, warm and illicit. You walk out of the pawn shop, the flickering bulb casting your long shadow behind you, into the cool, indifferent night. The weight has been lifted from your hands, but a different, heavier weight settles in your soul. The exchange is made. The finality of it, a cold, undeniable truth. And with the crumpled bills in your pocket, there is only one immediate, inescapable destination. Without a moment's hesitation, your feet carry you towards the familiar, shadowy corners where your true currency is traded. You buy pills immediately. The transaction swift and practiced. The bitter taste a welcome distraction from the profound emptiness that now echoes within you. The sky, that vast, boundless expanse where you once soared with unparalleled freedom and courage, had been pawned, not for riches, not for a better life, but for dust, for the fine, bitter powder of amphetamines, for the fleeting, artificial oblivion they promised. Your wings, once symbols of aspiration, now lie dormant in a dusty shop, a testament to a life derailed, a heroism betrayed. And you, Arthur, walk away, lighter in your pockets, but infinitely heavier in spirit. Another piece of your soul traded for the hollow promise of a chemical escape. The transaction is complete, leaving you with nothing but a handful of pills and the haunting memory of a sky you once called home. You stand on a bustling Fleet Street corner, the heart of London's newspaper industry, a place where headlines are born and reputations are forged or irrevocably shattered. The crisp morning air carries the scent of fresh ink and damp newsprint, a tangible marker of the day's stories unfolding. Your eyes, drawn by an irresistible, morbid curiosity, snag on a bold, damning headline splashed across the front page of a prominent broadsheet, "Veterans and Pills Epidemic." The words, stark and unforgiving, seem to leap out at you, seizing your attention with a cold, iron grip. Beneath the headline, a stark, almost accusatory sketch depicts a haggard, anonymous figure, his face thin, his eyes wide and vacant. You trace the lines of the drawing, a chilling sense of recognition creeping over you. It's not a photograph, but it might as well be. The artist has captured the very essence of your own decline, the hollowed-out expression, the restless energy barely contained. You see your reflection in that sketch. Arthur, a grotesque caricature of the hero you once were, now reduced to a faceless statistic, a symbol of a national shame. The article speaks of a hidden crisis, of soldiers returning home from war only to fall prey to the very substances that once helped them survive it. It details the growing number of addicts, the broken lives, the societal cost. It paints a picture of a nation that celebrated its heroes on the parade ground, only to abandon them to the silent battles within. The public, once so eager for stories of courage and triumph, is now confronted with the uncomfortable truth of its forgotten casualties. A wave of something akin to shame, hot and stinging, washes over you, momentarily cutting through the chemical haze that usually shields your emotions. You crumple the newspaper in your hand, the angry headlines and the damning sketch twisting into a crumpled ball, a physical manifestation of your own shattered pride. As the paper folds in on itself, a small, white cascade tumbles from its folds. Pills, escaping from their makeshift prison, scattering across the grimy pavement like discarded confetti. They roll and bounce, tiny white reminders of your persistent demon, stark against the dark. Wet asphalt, a bitter, cynical laugh escapes your lips, a harsh, grating sound that offers no real mirth. At least I made the front page. You mutter to yourself, the words heavy with a profound, unsettling irony. The fame you once sought, the recognition for your aerial exploits, has been twisted into something ugly, something you never imagined. You are famous now, not for your triumphs in the sky, but for your failures on the ground. A cautionary tale, a symptom of a larger, unspoken ailment. The public acknowledgement is not of your heroism, but of your demise. The truth, now laid bare for all to see, is that heroes, once celebrated and revered, had become Britain's hidden disease, a quiet epidemic festering beneath the surface of post-war jubilation. And you, Arthur, were simply another symptom, another casualty, another face in the growing gallery of the forgotten. Your story broadcast not in triumph, but in shame. You are in the quiet of your room, a small, dark space where shadows cling to every corner, thickening as the day recedes. The only sound is the persistent moan of the wind, a mournful, solitary wail that filters through the cracked window pane, carrying with it the cold breath of the night. It whispers through the gaps in the frame, a ghostly lament that seems to echo the emptiness within you. The silence here is not peaceful. It is a resonant, waiting silence, an open invitation for the voices to begin. And they do. They start as faint murmurs, barely audible whispers, seeming to emanate from the very walls themselves. Then they grow, gradually, inexorably, into distinct, familiar voices. They are the voices of your dead comrades, the men who flew beside you, laughed with you, screamed with you. Their words are fragments, snatches of conversations from briefings, desperate pleas from dying men over the radio, the final, choked gasps that haunt your every waking moment and torment your chemically suppressed sleep. They tell stories of fire, of plummeting planes, of sudden, brutal silence. They accuse, they question, they demand. You hear their names, their faces flashing behind your eyes, vivid and agonizingly real. The room becomes a crucible of memory, a spectral gathering where the past refuses to stay buried. The cacophony of these ghost voices builds, a tormenting choir that presses in on you from all sides, threatening to overwhelm what fragile sanity remains. The fear, raw and primal, twists in your gut. There is only one way to silence them, one desperate, chemical escape from this tormenting parade of the dead. Your hand, trembling violently, reaches for the bottle. A familiar, desperate gesture. You don't count. You don't measure. You simply tip it, pouring a fistful of pills into your palm, a desperate offering to the clamoring spirits. They are a weapon against your own mind, a shield against the unbearable weight of memory. You gulp them down, one after another. Their chalky bitterness, a familiar taste that promises oblivion. You swallow the squadron, their accusing voices, their burning memories, hoping to drown them in a chemical tide. The act is desperate, a frantic attempt to shut down the internal broadcast, to silence the relentless replays of your personal hell. Almost immediately, your body rebels. A violent tremor seizes you, your muscles clenching and releasing in a terrifying, uncontrolled convulsion. Your eyes roll back in your head. Your breath catches in your throat. A choking gasp. The lamp, already flickering weakly, sputters once, twice, then dies, plunging the room into absolute, impenetrable darkness. The silence that follows is not the quiet of peace, but the ominous stillness of deep chemical sleep, or something worse. You have silenced the squadron, Arthur, but not through absolution, not through healing. You have silenced them by swallowing them, absorbing their spectral presence into the very core of your being. Their voices now trapped within the confines of your chemically overwhelmed mind, waiting for the fragile dam to break once more. And as darkness consumes you, the chilling realization lingers. This desperate act of silencing has only deepened the prison, made the walls more impenetrable, trapping both the living and the dead within the confines of your tormented skull. You open your eyes to a harsh, institutional white, the stark ceiling above you crisscrossed with the faint, unsettling geometry of water stains. The air here, though clean, is heavy with the mingled scents of antiseptic, stale linen, and the subtle, underlying odor of human suffering. You are in the veterans' ward, a silent, somber landscape of iron beds, each occupied by a gaunt, hollow-eyed man. They are arrayed in precise rows, a grim battalion of the broken, a silent testament to the war that continues to claim its casualties long after the guns have fallen silent. You are Arthur, lying amongst them, a silent observer in this tableau of shared torment. Sailors, their faces etched with the terror of torpedoed ships and freezing waters, lie rigid, staring blankly ahead. Infantrymen, their bodies scarred by shrapnel and bullet wounds, twitch and groan in the grip of unseen nightmares. And pilots, like you, their eyes still holding the ghost of the sky, shake uncontrollably, their bodies racked by a combination of chemical withdrawal and the profound trauma of their experiences. They sweat, they shiver, they stare into vacant space, each man a monument to a different facet of the war's enduring brutality. Their voices, when they speak, are often fractured, their thoughts disjointed, caught in a perpetual loop of memory and fear. A nurse, her movements soft and efficient, glides between the beds, her crisp white uniform a beacon of care in this landscape of despair. Her voice, when she speaks, is a gentle whisper, meant only for your ears, but it carries a profound truth. The Empire's hidden army, she murmurs, her gaze sweeping across the rows of suffering men. Her words resonate with a chilling accuracy. These are the forgotten soldiers, the unseen casualties, the ones who survived the bombs and the bullets, only to be devoured by the unseen enemy of trauma and addiction, dismissed by a society eager to move on, to celebrate victory without acknowledging its full cost. They are hidden away, out of sight, out of mind, lest their suffering mar the shiny facade of national triumph. You lie there, Arthur, staring at the stained ceiling, its imperfections and discolorations transforming, in your mind's eye, into vast, fiery skies. You see the flickering reds of tracer fire, the orange blooms of exploding aircraft, the endless, indifferent blue of the stratosphere where you once soared. The ward around you, with its hushed sounds and its rows of broken men, fades into a secondary reality. Your mind is back in the cockpit, reliving the terror, the adrenaline, the desperate struggle for survival. The physical war might have ended for the world outside, but for you and for these men, it simply continued, unrelenting. It had merely changed uniforms, transitioning from the aerial battles over England to the silent, internal warfare within the confines of this ward. And you, Arthur, are acutely aware that you are a permanent member of this new, tragic army, fighting a war that has no end, only endless, silent casualties. You stand in the cold, indifferent shadows of a narrow alleyway, the rough brick pressing against your back, your breath misting in the chill air. Today is Victory Day again, the annual commemoration, a ritual of national pride. From your hidden vantage point, you can hear it, the distant, triumphant blare of the brass bands, the rhythmic thump of marching boots on the paved streets, the proud unfurling of flags, their crisp fabric snapping in the breeze. The sounds carry on the wind, a powerful, emotional swell that signifies celebration, remembrance, and a collective moving forward. You are Arthur, an unseen spectator, a ghost at your own victory parade. The streets beyond your alley are awash with light, with the vibrant colors of celebration, with the joyful roar of the crowd. Families line the pavements, their faces uplifted, cheering on the marching contingents, waving their small, celebratory flags. The soldiers, resplendent in their uniforms, their medals gleaming, march with a proud, unwavering gait. Embodiments of strength and sacrifice, they represent the nation's triumph, its resilience, its enduring spirit. But you, Arthur, stand apart. Your hand, almost unconsciously, goes to your pocket, searching for the familiar comfort of a pill. Your fingers close around nothing but crumpled paper, an empty packet, its contents long consumed. It's a stark, poignant symbol of your current reality, a silent testament to the void within you, a void that the parade, with all its pomp and circumstance, cannot hope to fill. The emptiness is a cold ache in your gut, a physical manifestation of your profound isolation. You watch the marchers, their faces illuminated by the bright, celebratory lights, their movements strong and purposeful. They wave to the adoring crowd, accepting their applause, basking in the warmth of national gratitude. The crowd roars its approval, a vast, joyful sound that vibrates through the very ground beneath your feet, yet feels entirely detached from your own experience. You are an outsider, a relic, a man whose glory was purchased at too high a price no one, it seems, is willing to acknowledge. As the last of the marchers passes, their distant figures fading into the celebratory lights, Your own shadow stretches long and distorted across the cracked pavement of the alley. It is an elongated, lonely silhouette, a dark, silent presence against the fading light of day, a testament to the years of chemical living, of hidden suffering. History, you realize with a bitter clarity, honored the marchers, the brave and the triumphant, forever enshrined in its annals. But history, you know, with a chilling certainty, had buried the ghosts, the unseen casualties, the ones like you who carried the scars of war not on their uniforms, but deep within their tormented souls. Your shadow, long and solitary, is the only monument to your own unspoken struggle, a stark, silent reminder of what the nation chose to forget, what it chose to leave behind in the celebratory rush of victory. You remain, a spectral presence, an unseen casualty in the blinding light of national pride. You are in your damp flat, the air heavy with a pervasive chill that seeps into your bones, a scent of decay and resignation. The ceiling above you is a map of cracks, a delicate, intricate web that spreads across the plaster like the strategic bombing maps you once studied in wartime briefings. Each fissure seems to echo a memory, a past explosion, a moment of profound terror or fragile triumph. The room is quiet, unnaturally so. The silence broken only by the rhythmic drip of water from a leaky pipe, a slow, relentless ticking towards an inevitable end. You are Arthur, and your hands, though unsteady, move with a deliberate, almost ritualistic precision. On the worn wooden table before you, you arrange a few significant objects, remnants of a life that has slowly, inexorably unraveled. First, the small Nepomnon crumpled pawn ticket, a stark reminder of the sacrifice of your glory for a chemical fix. Next, the RAF wings, tarnished and dull, but still bearing the faint imprint of their past splendor, a symbol of a dream that soared, then crashed. Beside them, a faded photograph of your daughter, her face innocent and loving, her eyes holding a silent question you could never answer. And finally, the last vial, its glass cold and smooth against your trembling fingers, holding the final, potent promise of oblivion. You look at them, these scattered pieces of your existence, and a profound weariness settles over you, heavier than any fatigue you ever felt in the cockpit. Your voice, when it comes, is a hoarse whisper, barely audible in the quiet room, a final, poignant soliloquy. For England, you breathe, the words a bitter echo of the patriotism that once fueled you. Then, after a long, drawn-out pause, the devastating truth escapes your lips for nothing. The crushing weight of that realization, the profound sense of futility, hangs in the air, a silent judgment on a life spent in service, only to be consumed by its unseen costs. With a final, resolute movement, your hand closes around the last pill. There is no hesitation now, only a weary resignation, an acceptance of the inevitable. You swallow it, the bitter taste of familiar companion, a final, devastating sacrament. The effect is swift, profound. Your body, already weakened by years of chemical abuse, simply gives way. You collapse, a silent, crumpled heap on the damp floor. Your last breath a whispered sigh that dissipates into the cold air. The objects on the table, undisturbed by your fall, remain as silent witnesses. But your RAF wings, dislodged from their precarious perch, clatter to the floor beside you, their metallic whisper echoing briefly in the dim light. They lie there, a symbol of your final, desperate sortie, a flight not into the skies, but into the profound, irrevocable darkness of a chemical end. Your journey, Arthur, from the triumphs of the clouds to the shadows of addiction, has reached its grim conclusion. His final sortie ended in a pill, a tragic, solitary descent, unheralded and unmourned by the nation he so bravely defended. The cracks in the ceiling remain, silent observers to the end of a hero, or perhaps the end of a forgotten casualty. The small funeral is a hurried affair, conducted under a slate-gray sky that weeps a cold, persistent rain. The dampness seeps into everything, a fitting shroud for the quiet, unceremonious passing. You stand at the edge of the grave, a solitary figure amidst a handful of strangers and a few old, weary comrades. The vicar, his voice rushing through the service, speaks of a life well lived, of duty and sacrifice, of a man who served his country with honor. His words are generic, comforting platitudes, devoid of true knowledge, detached from the raw, complex truth of the man being laid to rest. The earth, churned to mud by the rain, yields reluctantly to the coffin, a final, damp embrace. There is no fanfare, no fly past, no 21-gun salute, just the quiet, relentless patter of rain and the hushed murmurs of a few, quickly fading memories. Later, in the local paper, a small obituary appears, nestled discreetly among the notices. It reads, "Simply RAF veteran passes quietly." No mention is made of the pills, the insidious addiction that consumed him, the silent battles fought long after the official war had ended. No shame is recorded, no painful truths acknowledged. The public narrative of heroism remains intact, unsullied by the inconvenient reality of his suffering. Across the city, bathed in the same indifferent rain, grand monuments shine, their polished stone gleaming, bearing the names of countless heroes, commemorating the victories and the sacrifices made for king and country. Their names are etched in permanence, their stories forever woven into the fabric of the empire's proud history. But Arthur's name, like so many others who fought and fell to a different kind of enemy, is lost. It fades into the damp earth, whispered only by the wind, forever forgotten with the Ghost Squadron, those spectral pilots who flew their final, solitary missions into the depths of their own despair. They fought for king and country. These men, with courage and unwavering loyalty, sacrificing their youth, their peace, their very selves. But in the end, many were destroyed not by enemy fire, not by the bombs they dodged or the bullets they endured. They were destroyed by their own medicine, the chemical crutch provided by the very system they served. A silent, insidious poison that claimed them long after the war was officially won, and the empire, in its triumph, buried their true stories, leaving their ghosts to linger in the forgotten corners of history. A quiet, profound testament to the unacknowledged costs of victory.